Hello, this is Robert Cox. I am the author of the Life Recovery Method, Autism Treatment from a Trauma Perspective, and I hope to see you with me at Weekend University, August 28th. There will be a link below the video. About 30 years ago, I began doing just basic direct care with individuals on the autism spectrum, and one of my first patients used to like to flap his hands like this. That was a stemming behavior he had. And I remember the psychologist that I was working for telling me, if he does that, make him sit on his hands. I knew instinctually that if I was having some stemming behavior, which I kind of had a few myself, and if someone forced me to stop that, my head would explode. And that began me down the path of seeing autism from a perspective of trauma, because I understood uniquely the individuals that I was working with. So when we came back from whatever we were doing in the community or whatever we were working on that day, I would simply write in the log that the client had no issues with stemming, because even if he was doing this, he didn't have issues with it and I didn't have issues with it. So there were no issues with it. I knew that that was not going to be healthy for his brain. And that was the beginning of 30 years of just kind of watching and researching. And as I got into my master's program, probably 18 years later, I began to research trauma and how it affected the brain. And that's when the link came for me between trauma brain, which I had and understood, and how autism was causing a trauma in individuals' lives that began to shape their brain in the same way. It changed my whole view of how we should be approaching treatment and led to the Life Recovery Method, which is about structuring supports in a way that we're moving them from here up to here before we start trying to change any behaviors. So we are helping them to decide how they want to live rationally by moving them from this dysregulated part of the brain up to the regulated part of the brain. Now, some people might say, well, that's great if you're dealing with kiddos that are like functional enough they can speak and read and take care of themselves. It's true of everyone, from a 2-year-old to an 80-year-old neuroscientist. It is true that we have to work on calming the brain first, or we're not going to be able to make rational decisions. We're not going to be able to change our behavior. So I hope that you'll be able to join me at the Weekend University on August 28th. I would love to be able to share this hour with you and try and change some views about how we need to go about supporting autism. What is the actual way that we can put supports in place in a layered way that are going to create really positive results. I'll even have a case example or two. I hope to see you there.